Hi everybody, welcome to my little technical review of Who Stole My Cake. It's a prototype name. I have no real name for it yet. I don't even have a good story for it yet, so this is the prototype name we are going to use for now. And this is a little technical review. The game is made in Unity, as you can see. It's for my study, that's where the video is for too, but I wanted to show people the game I'm making and maybe create some interest. Cool. Okay, so Unity game. I started by creating just a simple level as I can show here. Hold up, it's this one. And this is the style I went for right now. So we got just a simple level, but it's a top-down view. So the whole game is a top-down view. As you can see, it does have 2D sprites. And that's a bit the style I wanted to give to the game. A 2D sprites in a 3D world. You also can see it's all pixel art. That's something I want to use too. I was inspired by the game Octopath, or a bit inspired by Octopath. Octopath is made in Unreal Engine and also uses like 2D assets in a 3D world with 3D lighting and good lighting at that. Which is no wonder because he uses Unreal Engine. I'm just using Unity, it's fine. And my goal for this project was really to create a set of game mechanics where I can work upon in future projects. So I really wanted to start to explain how I made the game, go through these game mechanics. And yeah, so we'll start at the player camera. And we've got a player here, if I can start. We've got some controls. This game was meant for mobile, the mobile platform, still meant for the mobile platform. So that's why it has a joystick. I can also use WASD, just for easy debug reasons. And with that I can use it to move around my little player. As you can see, the camera lags behind. That just gives it a lot of it's like it's alive, like the camera is alive. So I wanted to show you my player controller, if I can find it. It's a bit of a mess. I have not really been looking at my code and refactoring things, but for now this is what it does. So we have an update function, which starts with a log movement boolean for in case I wanted to log my player movement, and it checks two things: the movement and the attack. So the movement, it gets from the joystick, the horizontal and the vertical axes. It clamps it, so yeah, all values between 0 and 0.5 they get negated, or they get used, and everything above 0.5 or minus 0.5 gets floored or sealed to 1 or -1, which gives it just a better movement feeling. I noticed when I didn't use this clamp method, the movement was really sluggish. So so it moves the player controller, which is an important, interesting thing. When I looked around on the internet, everyone said, yo, you need to manipulate the transform position. Others said you need to use a rigid body and add force to that or whatever. But really only when I talked to someone who knows Unity quite well, I found out I had to use the character controller. Not only is it quite easy to use and a very powerful component, it also fixed a lot of little tiny bugs I had. For instance, when I walked into a wall, I got negative velocity, so my player started sliding away. So this makes the character move very just stable. So I use the character to move, the player character to move it with the movement speed all the time. Not very interesting there. I have a little animator which animates the player walking right or being idle. I only use the walking right animation because if the player walks left, I just flip it. I just flip the whole sprite, so it walks to the other side, basically. Cool, yeah, so that makes the player move very stable. When I click anywhere on the screen, as I can show here, I click here, pew, 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 it starts shooting. Well, I don't have anything planned for that yet. I think I want to combine everything that is attacking with, you can pick up melee weapons, you can pick up ranged weapons, and that depends on what type you attack. So if you have a ranged weapon, it will do ranged attack. If you have a melee weapon, it will do a melee attack. So that's what I'm thinking, but for now I just have a attack mode which uses the ranged attack if just by default, and if enemies are very close to the player, it uses a melee attack. Yeah, it's not the best, but it works. Yeah, so little bit of things. If the player clicks inside of the button, as you can see in the bottom left, the bottom right, sorry, or the joystick in the bottom left, it won't shoot. Little things like that. If the enemy is in melee range, little boolean starts attacking with melee, otherwise it will shoot. The projectile which is shot will detect trigger boxes. So when it gets to an enemy, it will disappear. Enemy takes damage. When it comes to a player from an enemy, player will take damage. It disappears. When it comes to a chest, it will open the chest, disappears. When it comes to a breakable, it breaks the object, disappears, so on and so forth. If it hits a wall, it also disappears. It doesn't go through the wall. And the hit is just simply, it destroys the object, instantiates an explosion, and it instantiates a shake. Right there. Okay. So that's a player controller. We have some take damage, update health bar, die, all those little status things. This one is a bit interesting. When I have one big one on trigger enter function, which I really want to change, but I haven't done it yet. So when I come inside the trigger box of an enemy, the melee range is true. So as I said, it will switch to slashing with a sword. I can show you that in a small example. So I walk to an enemy and I can start swinging my sword. And that's a little bug. All enemies die, but that will be fixed later. So that activates the melee range. When I come close to a chest, the button here will activate. So if I walk to this chest here, the button will activate and it will open a storage menu. I will talk about this later in the video. What I have planned for this. For now, it doesn't work, unfortunately. So that's when it comes to a chest, the button activates and you can press on it. When you come to the level end, which is this little thing here, this is the level end, sort of a little elevator. You can end the level. It activates the button you see here, and it displays end. And when you come to an item, it will check if the item is already in the inventory slot. Right now we have 3 inventory slots, as you can see here on the left. That's a ranged weapon, a melee weapon, and a gear weapon. I want to change it to 2, so weapon and gear. So if you have a ranged weapon or a melee weapon, your attacks change. So when no item has been picked up, it would just automatically pick up the weapon. So I can show that if I go to the chest and I shoot on this chest, right there, 5 items will appear. And as you can see, I walked over the little staff, and the little staff here appeared. I was always being demolished by a spider. So that's not very exciting. What it does, I will show what it does in a minute. It sets the values, so we have a little stat thing here. So it sets those values. I will come to that also. And some things about updating UI, setting up if I already have an item in my inventory, it will show this button and it will say swap, so I can swap the item with the item I have. All those things. This is not very interesting. So that's for our player controller, and our player controller does everything that the player does, but I really want to change all these functions to their own thing. So when we come to enemies, I just created a nav mesh. So if we go to navigation, I think. Oh, sorry, scene. Just kidding. I just baked the whole plane, the whole floor, as a walkable object, and then the walls as non-walkable. Let me select a single wall, and then I baked the nav mesh, so nothing special there. And then I added to my enemies, I added a little nav mesh agent, which I didn't set up yet. So they come walking towards me. I changed a little thing. They always raycast towards the player. You can see it if I change the scene. They always do a raycast to the player, and they check if an object is in between. So if I go stand here, it's all red. That's because for almost all enemies, the wall is in between me and the enemy. And for this line, the player is just not close enough. So there's also a distance thing. If I walk close enough, you see it becomes green, the rest stay there, and the enemies come toward me and start attacking me. And I died. So that's how the nav mesh agent works. You have, for the enemies, you have a few settings, the health, shooting range, melee range, attack points. You can select what type they are, if they are ranged or if they are melee. Let's see, drop chance, all those things, not really interesting. I really want to make, I don't know if I want to make that. I might want to improve the enemy AI, but I don't know. It's just a hack and slash game at the end of the day, so maybe I don't. So the projectiles are just explained. We have the items, which are quite interesting. So we have an item object here. Every item object has a sprite and some particles, which are linked to the gravity. And for every item, there are some values that are set. So we have an item type, which is melee ranged gear. We have rarity, mythical, rare, uncommon, common. We also have like blue beams, but I'll show them later. We have some names for the weapons, melee names, range names, gear names. I need to find a better way for this, but this works for now. Yeah, so when we start, the item gets an instance ID. That's for later on referencing. And when you instantiate this item, you can do two things. You can set random values or you can set custom values. This is because when you just drop an item from an enemy that has been killed or a chest that has been opened, you want to get some random values. So a random item type, is it a weapon, is it gear? A random name, which it gets from this. Rarity and value, and the value is the amount of damage it can do or the amount of defense it gives. So random rarity, the random rarity is like get an integer between 0 and 100. If it is 2, the mythical. If it is above 2 and below 10. I did this very weirdly, but I did it like it is, so it is like that now. So yeah, it's a very small chance to get a mythical item. But a mythical item is like meant for carrying the player through quite some floors. So yeah, and the base value gets boosted by the fact, this can go to 4 even, gets boosted by the amount of rarity, how rare the item is. So that depends. That explains the rarity. It spawns a loot beam. It sets a sprite. Everything. If you want to set a value, and you want to set a value if you got a weapon on the floor, you finish the floor, and you want to save the weapon to the next floor, or the current floor, or the previous floor. Then at the start of the level, there are a few things that are saved once you complete a floor, and those things are the weapon, the floor you just completed, the progression, so to say, and the weapons you had on you. So every time a new level starts, it checks if any weapons were saved. If yes, the item is created, instantiated again, and the values are set. So that's for saving and getting weapons. The rest is not that interesting. The item manager is quite interesting too, because the item manager manages all the items, of course, but not really the items, the objects, also the objects that are in the game. So what it does, it has a list with items, and every time an item is created, it is added to that list. And at the end of the level, all those items that are on the floor is just, they are thrown away. But the items that are in chests, or the items that are held by players, will get saved. As you can see here, this is where the whole item is created from those player preferences, where the item is saved, etc. So we have a storage manager and a chest manager. Well, as I can show it. If I walk to the chest here, I shoot the chest, we have got these nice items. I can go to the chest, press use, and you will see the items here. Wait, let me just kill this little guy here. So. Ooh, that's a good weapon. That's a rare weapon. A rare paladin armor. Okay. If I press use when I'm standing near chest, you see this storage screen. And the idea is that players can store items in storage. Because if you die, you lose all items on you. Everything. You can get it back. You also lose progression. So if you were at floor 50 and you die there, you lose your weapons and you go back to floor 35, for example. The idea is that you can store weapons in the storage, in chests. Every chest has its own storage spot. So when you find a chest, you get an item from it. You can choose to use that item to kill monsters. If the monsters drop any items, you can store that item in a chest for later use, for when you die, for example. So that's the whole idea behind these chests. The thing is, you can soft lock yourself a bit, because if you don't use chests and you have to start over, well, good luck. It's hard killing enemies with low stats. So you have to think about it. And also, if you place your items in a chest on floor 45, you die on floor 50, you lose progression to floor 35, you can't get to that chest. So you have to deal smart with the chest. The idea is that you can swap. So we have an empty spot here, we have an empty spot here, empty spot here. I can click on an item, the swap icon appears, and I can switch it, but that doesn't work yet. So I'll make it work, but it doesn't work yet for now. They also have breakables here, little pots you can break. They also have a small chance of spawning an item. And the whole idea is that enemies grow in level. So enemies get stronger, so you need stronger gear. That's why I said that for example, mythical item can carry you through 5 floors, because they have a very strong value. As you can see above here, I'm wearing a staff and a king's armor, which give a defense points of 7 and ranged attack points of 5. I can also swap to the rare paladin armor, which creates an error. So I need to fix that too. But this error is linked to the error I have here at the chest. So that. So you can also swap items. The rest of the things, we have a little UI thing here. I also have a main menu. and the main menu shows very well the idea of the whole floors. So if I press play, I have these floors here. So I can press the first floor. Sorry, I have no directional lighting here. I go to the end of the level, skip the enemies, bam, end. I completed the level, and if I go to play, I see that I've completed the first level. If I go to floor 2, the end is nice and conveniently right here. And I completed floor 2. If I go to floor 3, very nice, floor 3. If I go back, what if I want to farm floor 3 for enemies, items? I go back and I die. What happens then? Well, unfortunately, these are all enemies, they shoot at me. Once I get through, they are quite strong, so it won't take long for them to kill me. Now I died. Problem is, I lost my progression. So, that's the whole thing. I think I lose 5 or 10 floors, but it will be based on the higher you get, the more you lose. That's the whole idea. And I also think that if you go to floor 1, you can lose it. I think something like that. So yeah, it's like a very simple form of the Diablo, kinda. So we've got a few funny effects right here in post-processing. This one needs to be on, so that we got some nice depth of field. Sorry, I got that one from, of course, Octopath. Octopath, it uses a very shallow depth of field, which I'm going to set even more shallow, like 18.6. And I really like the idea of this focus distance, because it creates a sort of an extra vignette to the whole screen. Got a little bit of film grain, chromatic aberration, ambient occlusion. These are quite mild. The bloom vignette, these are quite mild. You don't see them as much. The thing I want to stand out is the depth of field and the lens distortion. Lens distortion was also used. It gives a feeling of like Mario Galaxy, you know, like it's your own little world. I like that a lot. Yeah, so that's with the effects and all. Let's see, we've got the sprite shader. That's with the lighting. So we've got lighting everywhere, and you can see that the lighting affects my sprite. It's a little shader I got from the nice internet. Where is it? No, it's on the sprite here, isn't it? I think it's on this. Yeah, the sprite shadow shader. You can find it on the internet if you search how to apply lighting to the models, to the sprites. You will find it very easily. Gives a nice effect to my 2D character. Do I have anything else? The light triggering is just a randomizer, so it gets some random values for the light intensity. So that's the whole game. I hope I explained it a bit well. English is not really my native language, so sometimes I struggle a bit to find the correct words, but yeah, just if you're interested or whatever, just check out the comments. Let me know what you think of it. For the future, I really want to release this game as a mobile game. Yeah, I don't have any deadline or whatever, but I really want to give updates. I do have a little story in mind, which I really want to work out before I share anything of it. But it's a funny story. It gets a light atmosphere, the whole game. It's really hack and slashy, you know, just go around and just hack and slash. And I wanted to create a game that is everybody can play it, but it really has that retro feel of the games. The games that we used to play with some modern effects. I really think that's what I want to get to in my game. So I'll keep you guys updated with this game. As I said, hope I did the explanation well, and I will see you. Thank you for watching. And I hope I'll get you updated.